So let's say this problem is asking for the x-intercepts, and it's also asking for the vertical asymptotes. All right, well, one thing that we could do is just look at the graph. We know our x-intercept is right there at -3 and 2. And if you look carefully, you could see that our vertical asymptote occurs at -2, right? Kind of what we talked about before in the last video. You can see that this is where our function, right, our y values are getting extremely huge and it's going to keep going up. Right, this right here is going to keep doing this right here. And essentially, we can't plug -2 into our equation because we'll get 0, but as we get really close to there, as we get really close to 0, our y values increase, right? Because as we divide by a smaller number, our y values will shoot up, and that's why that vertical asymptote gets created. So to find our vertical asymptotes, well, we just focus on the denominator of our equation and set it equal to 0. All right, and that's essentially all we do to find our vertical. So we do x plus 2 is equal to 0, and we just subtract 2 to both sides, and we get x is equal to -2. And there we found our vertical asymptote, which makes sense because you can see it right here on the graph. All right, so now to find the x-intercepts, well, we just focus on the numerator and set those equal to 0, x plus 3 and x minus 2. And now we set both of them individually, x plus 3 and x minus 2 to both sides, subtract 3 to both sides, and we get that x is equal to -3. And over here we add 2 to both sides, and we get that x is equal to 2. And you can see that on the graph, right? We just kind of verified that together, that we do in fact, our x-intercepts are right here at -3, +2, and our vertical asymptote is right there at -2. All right, and you can see that's where it makes sense and find it in that on the equation. So why don't we go ahead and without a graph, right? We're not going to have graphs always, but let's look at the other example we had on the previous video. X squared plus 12x plus 20. This is all divided by, let's go ahead and do x squared plus 2x plus 1. All right, so we want to identify our x-intercepts and vertical asymptotes, but before we do that, it's going to be really important that we turn everything into general form. Okay, well, over here, I'll write all the factors of 20, and I've already done this before in the previous video, but let's just go ahead and do it again. All right, well, 1 and 20, we can't add that to get 12, but we can use 2 and 10, right? 2 plus 10 gives me the 12, so I can do x plus 2 and x plus 10, right? 10 times 2 gives me 20, and 2 plus 10 gives me the positive 12. Okay, down below I'll do the same thing to turn this into factored form, and I'm going to get, well, let's go ahead, let's see, we are going to get all the factors of 1, which is just 1 and 1, so if we just do 1 plus 1, we're going to get the 2. So down below we're going to get x plus 1, x plus 1. All right, well, now that we have that there, we can go ahead, now that it's rewritten into factored form, let's go ahead and solve. All right, we want to find our x-intercepts. And we also want to find our vertical asymptotes. So, if we want to find both of these, well, to find our x-intercepts, we just set the numerator equal to 0, and we're going to get x plus 5, x plus 2, and x plus 10. And over here, we're going to get 0 equals x plus 1, x plus 1. So over here, we're going to get 0 equals x plus 5, 0 equals x plus 2. We just set them individually equal to 0. We subtract 5 to both sides. We get that x equals -5 for 1. Subtract -2 to both sides, and we get x is equal to -2. Over here, we subtract -10 to both sides, and we get x is equal to -10 for our x-intercepts. And over here, we do the same thing. Well, 0 is equal to x plus 1. 0 is equal to x plus 1. We subtract 1 on both sides. You can see that in both scenarios, we're just going to get x equals -1. Which means, right, our vertical asymptote is just at -1. All right? Well, if you want to, why not try one more problem? Let's say we have y equals x plus 2. And up here we have x squared minus 9 and x plus 6. Okay, and let's say we also have an x down below here. Well, we want to turn everything into factored form. All right, we want to find our x-intercepts. Or before I do that, let's actually just turn it. We want to find the x-intercepts and our vertical asymptotes, right? And we see this right here is this needs to be into factored form. All right, well, you could either do x squared plus 0x minus 9, right, and write all the factors of 9, which is 1, 9, and 3, and 3. All right, I put the 0x as a placeholder because it's, you can see that it does not have a x in between, so it's essentially a 0x. Well, can I do anything with 1 and 9 to get 0x? No. And can I do anything with 3 and 3 to get 0? Well, 3 minus 3. So I can rewrite this whole entire expression as x plus 2 divided by x plus 3, x minus 3, and x plus 6. All right, now that we have that there, let's go ahead and actually find the vertical asymptotes and x-intercepts of this problem here. So if we want to go ahead and do that, well, let's go ahead and actually do it, right? So let me just go ahead and label it here. We want to find our x-intercepts. Drew that kind of sloppy, and we want to find our vertical asymptotes. Oops. Okay. Now that we got that there, let's go ahead and do it. Well, to find our x-intercepts, we set the numerator equal to 0. And so we're going to get 0 equals x plus 2. We subtract 2 to both sides. And we're going to get that x equals negative 2. Perfect. And over here, we set the bottom equal to 0. We're going to get x plus 3, x minus 3, and x plus 6. Okay. Well, now to solve for this, well, we're going to get 0 is equal to x, right? We just set this equal to 0, and we don't need to do anything. That's just x equals 0, and we're done. We do 0 equals x plus 3, 0 equals x minus 3, and 0 equals x plus 6. Now we just subtract 3 to both sides. We're going to get x is equal to negative 3. We add 3 to both sides, and we're going to get that x equals 3. And then we subtract 6 to both sides, and we're going to get x equals negative 6. And you can see here we go, many example problems. This one is going to have 4 different vertical asymptotes, and over here it's only going to have 1 x-intercept, right? So hopefully that's a good amount of problems for you to feel confident on how to identify them on the